done? What came over me? Who am I? It was wonderful.
30 years after Forrest Gump first captured hearts, startling secrets are finally emerging. Beneath its feel-good surface lay intense on-set conflicts, real-life tragedies, and near walkouts. What personal pain was Sally Field hiding? Why did Tom Hanks almost quit? And how did a risky Texas location tie into the film's deepest emotions? From behind-the-scenes battles to emotional truths that shaped key moments, we're uncovering the stories never told, until now. After 3 decades, the veil is lifting on the hidden drama that helped create one of the most beloved films of the 90s. Sally Field's hidden struggles. When people think of Forrest Gump, they recall Tom Hanks running or saying,
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
But behind the film's emotional center stood Sally Field, whose portrayal of Mrs. Gump gave the story its quiet strength. Though her screen time was limited, the emotional weight she carried was immense and personally draining. A 2-time Oscar winner for Norma Ray and Places in the Heart, Field approached Forrest Gump with caution. "You never know if a piece is going to work," she said, admitting she wasn't sure audiences would even understand the story. Still, something about its innocence and perseverance drew her in.
You never know what's going to happen from one minute to the next. I mean, you can either be very depressed about that or look at it philosophically that you may be down at this moment.
Mrs. Gump was a complex character, tough but tender, protective, yet pragmatic. Field had to walk a fine line, defend her son fiercely, but never overplay it. "I knew I had to give it everything," she later reflected. Her portrayal required restraint and precision, all while facing the harsh reality of being a woman over 40 in Hollywood, where meaningful roles were scarce. Her emotional connection to the part ran deep. As a real-life mother, she poured her protective instincts into every scene, whether pushing Forrest into school or reminding him he was no different. That honesty resonated with audiences but left Field emotionally drained. Despite the toll, her performance became one of the film's most cherished elements. Mrs. Gump's words became iconic, her heartbreak unforgettable. Yet Field remained humble. "It's not about being the biggest part," she once said. "It's about being true to the story." Still, the challenges weren't over. Behind the powerful performance lay creative tension and professional pressures that would test Field further. Playing Mrs. Gump wasn't just a role. It was a personal journey through exhaustion, doubt, and resilience that made her portrayal unforgettable. Behind the camera, not everyone saw eye to eye, and Field found herself clashing with the very man trying to shape the film's vision. On-set tensions. While Forrest Gump appeared seamless on screen, behind the scenes, it was a far more complex experience, especially for Sally Field. As she embraced the emotional weight of Mrs. Gump, she faced creative tensions with director Robert Zemeckis. Zemeckis, known for his meticulous control, had a precise vision and wasn't afraid to enforce it. Field, a deeply instinctual and experienced performer, approached her role with emotional depth and personal investment. Their styles often clashed. Field felt Zemeckis sometimes pushed her too hard or redirected her instincts in unnatural ways. Though never explosive, the friction was persistent. They debated tone, delivery, and emotional beats. Field later admitted that the tension ultimately deepened her performance. "It forced me to dig," she said, especially in scenes where Mrs. Gump's calm exterior masked inner exhaustion. Field also encountered occasional tension with Tom Hanks. While their on-screen chemistry was strong, their acting styles differed drastically. Hanks was relaxed and spontaneous, drawing energy from the moment. Field, by contrast, arrived with scenes dissected and emotions meticulously prepared. "Tom was always so comfortable on set," she recalled. "Meanwhile, I had to work through every detail. It was a different kind of challenge." These creative contrasts, however, became a hidden strength. The dynamic between Field and Hanks, structured intensity versus fluid spontaneity, mirrored the layered relationship between Forrest and his mother. Their scenes, filled with unspoken tension and love, remain among the film's most powerful. As filming dragged on and doubts piled up, a bigger question loomed. Would Forrest Gump even find an audience? Or were they all pouring their souls into a movie destined to get lost? Real-life tragedies behind iconic scenes. While Forrest Gump is remembered for its charm and nostalgia, many iconic scenes were rooted in real-life emotion, especially for Sally Field. Beneath her calm portrayal of Mrs. Gump was a woman channeling deep personal sorrow. At the time, Field was dealing with emotional scars from decades in Hollywood, including trauma, strained relationships, and the pressures of being a mother in a male-dominated industry. Her lived experience added profound depth to her role. One unforgettable scene shows Mrs. Gump in a hospital bed, speaking softly to Forrest for the last time. Behind her gentle words was real grief. Years later, Field revealed she drew on memories of her own mother's final days, watching her fade while staying strong for her family. Another emotionally charged moment is Forrest's childhood diagnosis, where a doctor tells Mrs. Gump her son's intelligence is below normal. Field's fierce response came from a personal place. One of her own sons struggled in school, and she remembered the pain of hearing he might never succeed. That moment on screen was a real-life echo. Even Forrest's running montage carried deeper meaning for Field. In her life, she often felt the urge to run from pain, from Hollywood, from the pressure to be perfect. Watching Forrest run across America mirrored her younger self's emotional escape. A darker connection lies in a deleted scene inspired by Jacob's Well in Texas. The scene, in which Forrest dives into a spring and disappears briefly, was cut for being too grim. It was based on real incidents involving divers who never resurfaced, a reminder of how closely the film brushed against real tragedy. But for all the emotion on screen, the battles behind the scenes were far from over. Up next, discover the career-defining gamble that nearly tore the film apart, and how a single decision changed the fate of Forrest Gump forever. The film that nearly didn't happen. It's hard to believe, but Forrest Gump almost never made it to the big screen. Behind its heartwarming message and sweeping Americana was a production riddled with doubt, financial risk, and technical hurdles. From the outset, studio executives were skeptical. The story, adapted from Winston Groom's novel, was seen as too sentimental and unconventional. A slow-speaking Southern man as the lead? Studios didn't think audiences would connect. Paramount eventually greenlit the film, but funding problems soon followed. The budget was cut mid-production, forcing director Robert Zemeckis and star Tom Hanks to pay out of pocket for key scenes, including Forrest's iconic run across America. Without their personal investment, those legendary moments might not exist. Casting was another challenge. Tom Hanks wasn't the studio's first pick. John Travolta and Chevy Chase were considered first. Hanks accepted only after being promised creative freedom and shaped Forrest's voice around the child actor's Southern drawl. That voice became one of the film's most iconic features. Sally Field also had to fight for her role. Despite being just 10 years older than Hanks and already a two-time Oscar winner, she was considered too old to play his mother. Her emotional audition proved otherwise and secured her the role, marking a triumph over age bias in Hollywood. Director Zemeckis pushed the envelope technically as well. Determined to insert Forrest into real historical footage, shaking hands with JFK and appearing alongside Nixon, the team used groundbreaking visual effects. It was risky. One technical error could ruin the illusion. Throughout filming, many predicted failure. The movie was called too weird, too slow, and too emotional. But Zemeckis and his team believed in the story. When the film premiered in July 1994, it silenced every critic. Forrest Gump went on to win 6 Academy Awards and earned over $1 billion worldwide. But with great success comes great scrutiny. In our final chapter, we'll uncover the long-term impact of Forrest Gump, how it changed careers, sparked controversy, and still divides audiences decades later. Fame and forgotten stars. Forrest Gump launched several careers into stardom, most notably Tom Hanks, whose portrayal of Forrest became a cultural milestone. Quoted worldwide and celebrated for his sincerity, Hanks rode the film's success into a legendary career with roles in Apollo 13, Saving Private Ryan, and Cast Away, solidifying his place as one of Hollywood's most beloved actors. But not all shared that spotlight for long. Michael Connor Humphreys, who played young Forrest, delivered such an authentic performance that Hanks mimicked his accent. Yet after the film, he left Hollywood, joined the military, served in Iraq, and faded from the public eye, despite being essential to the film's emotional core. Hannah R. Hall, who played young Jenny, gave a heartbreaking performance in The Cornfield Farewell. She continued acting but struggled to escape Jenny's shadow, caught in the trap of early fame, memorable yet limiting. Gary Sinise, Oscar-nominated for his role as Lieutenant Dan, also faced typecasting. Though he later found success on TV and became a well-known advocate for veterans, his Gump role often eclipsed his broader body of work. Sally Field, as Mrs. Gump, reminded audiences of her brilliance, but Hollywood's ageism soon re-emerged. Despite acclaim, she faced limited roles and typecasting. It wasn't until years later, with roles in Lincoln and Maniac, that she began to reshape her narrative. Beyond the cast, Forrest Gump's legacy is complicated. While adored by many for its emotional depth and portrayal of resilience, it has also drawn criticism for oversimplifying history, politics, and disability. Some see it as a heartfelt reflection of fate, others a sanitized version of America's past. Still, that tension may be its lasting power. The contradictions, the questions it leaves behind. Because Forrest Gump is more than a movie. It's a mirror of the 20th century and the fleeting nature of fame. What moment from the film hits you the hardest? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss another hidden story from Hollywood's biggest legends. And if you're ready for more secrets behind the scenes, go ahead and watch the next video now.